Okay, welcome to week two. I'm doing the modules a little bit differently this week. Instead of just 15 minute videos of me talking, I have this document set up, and this video is just meant to supplement that document and explain things a little bit more. Before I get into the vivid description, I know that we are so close to turning the narrative project, so if you have any questions, please just email me. I'm also happy to set up Zoom meetings with anybody if there's any concern or anything that you'd like to talk about. Before I even get into the description, there are a couple places in text I want to draw your attention to. The first is going to be page 21 on work in progress. That's a nice guide for vivid description writing. It really focuses on the sensory aspects of vivid description. You'll find that very useful once you've selected a topic. You could probably get a few paragraphs out of that guide alone. And the second thing I want you to consider is audience. And in light of the Sherman Alexie essay, if you haven't read it yet, that's okay, but when you do, think about his audience. Who is he writing for? Is he writing for members of his group or members outside, or people outside of his group? And then I believe it's firmly in the latter. He's writing for people outside of his group. Then you can kind of think about why he made some of the choices that he made, why he chose to describe things the way that he did. Sorry for that noise. That helicopter is flying over my apartment right now, which tends to happen 5 times a day. But anyways, so consider audience, consider Sherman Alexie's audience, and why that might have, how that might have impacted the choices that he made. Okay, so I got 2 quotes here on this document. In bold are the adjectives from the McCarthy quote, and italicized are the verbs. I kind of chose these quotes at random. They just happen to be what I'm reading right now. This is Cormac McCarthy from this book, Outer Dark. It's a great book. Yeah, everyone should read it. But here is the quote. Before dark he came upon the creek again, smaller and clear, choked with duckwort and watercress, the flat verdant ground stretching away everywhere beneath the sparse cover of trees, and the coppery haze quivering like some rare dust in this twilight. So the first thing I want to point out about this quote is he is very specific in his language. Right? He's not saying the creek was a little creek and the sky was a big blue sky and the ground was brown and the trees had green leaves and there was a breeze. No, it's like he's being very specific with his language. But the second thing that I want to point out, because that might be kind of an obvious point, is the sense that is conveyed in this single sentence, the emotion that's conveyed, and how McCarthy conveys that emotion through his word choice. So let's take a look at the adjectives. Smaller and clear, choked, in the verb choked with duckwort and watercress. That's where the character is. That's where he is. And then around him, the flat verdant ground stretching away from him, beneath the sparse cover of trees, and a coppery haze quivering like some rare dust in this twilight. So you get this scene where a character is in this small area, the small clear creek, choked with grass. So he's in an isolated environment. Just the adjectives give that sense. But then around him is this larger landscape that stretches away from him, and through it in this flat verdant. So it's different than where he's at, which is choked. It becomes flat and verdant, and the small and clear becomes this stretching away into the sky. So you get a contrast between where he is and the world around him. And the verbs are very telling. Right? The haze quivering like some rare dust. Well, the light is literally leaving. The light is leaving. It's twilight, right? So the light is leaving the sky. So in that sense, it is actually quivering. It's leaving. So this all conveys a very particular scene. So that's something to think about. Not just only using specific word choices, but what kind of emotion you're trying to convey and how word choice can help you do that. And then the second quote is from Flannery O'Connor. I used her last week, but I read her a lot, so I'll probably keep doing that. The quote, "They started down the hill. It was a steep hill full of trees painted white from the ground up 4 feet. They looked as if they had on ankle socks." Now, what I love about this quote is, you know, the it's simple, plain English. The hill is steep, the trees are painted white, they're white till about 4 feet. It's very plain English. But the second sentence, they looked as if they had on ankle socks, is great because it takes this image of these trees that are painted white, as sometimes they are in parks, and it makes us think about them in a different way. Right now they're anthropomorphized, right? They have this human-like element, and not just like very specific ankle socks. We kind of it's a humorous kind of image to think of trees wearing ankle socks. Um, I love this quote. This is also O'Connor is writing in third person limited, which means it's a third person narration, but it's from the perspective of a specific character. So it makes us think about what that character might be experiencing and what their psyche might be like for them to describe trees as having on ankle socks. So those are two examples of, I think, really, you know, obviously these are some of the greatest writers in the English language. So it's a high bar, but this gives an example of what vivid description can do and what its function is in a narrative. Okay, so I probably went on even longer than I wanted to, but I hope this helps. And once again, if you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to reach out. All right.